OpenCPN, a free open source navigation software. A brief introduction. Firstly, on the PC or on a Mac, the primary screen showing the AIS and the radar. So here we have my boat sitting in a bay. You can see an AIS target to the south of it. So what I'm doing now is I'll turn on the radar. See the radar echoes come up and they match exactly the coastline, so you know that the chart that you're looking at is accurate. And also you'll notice that under the AIS target there's also a radar echo there, so that shows that where the AIS signal says he is actually where he is. Between my boat and the AIS target and slightly to the east, you can see a few small echoes there. There's a couple of fiberglass fizz boats in there that are normally hard targets. This is a Navico broadband 3G radar. So now we move on to the AIS in OpenCPN. AIS is relatively new to the recreational market and only really becoming common now. So here we've highlighted a Class A AIS, a ship. You can see he's going to Gisborne, you can see his size, you can see his MMSI numbers, you can actually see the anchor ball in the middle of the icon. Here we're looking at an A2N, the noises. A2N is an aid to navigation. Quite a few ATNs are now becoming common around the place. Highlighting the Turicat, you can see all the details there. You can see how fast they're going, how close they're going to get to you. One of the things about AIS, you can often see behind islands or headlands. So in some cases, it's actually more useful than a radar. You also get all sorts of alarms and collision capabilities and stuff like that. So here we look in the setup the AIS. You can say how far away you want a vessel to be before you're going to ignore it. You can say what warnings you want to get. You can configure what happens when you roll the mouse over the target. You can pick which audio files you want to play in the event of a AIS warning. So here we go, pick one. Select it, you can go then and go test it, you can make sure it sounds like you want it to sound, and how loud it's going to be, etc., to make sure it's going to work for you in your circumstances. So a really quick rundown of AIS in OpenCPN. Now we'll move on to polars. Polars are performance data for your boat. You can get them from your designer, or if he doesn't have them because it's too old like mine, you can make them yourself. In this screen, you can see the polars, you can see the chart, you can edit the chart, or you can have it automatically created by NMEA data coming in if you wish. Polars are also used by the TNL, the tack and lay plugin, to determine the lay lines for your vessel to see if you're going to make it around that next mark or headland. So tack and lay is still in beta, but it's not too far away before we'll have a publicly released version. So the one I'm showing you here is the beta version. You can see the green ley lines from my boat, and the little wind barb in the middle shows your wind direction and your tacking angles on both sides. So you can extend those lines, etc., so you can see if you're going to make it, and they are adjusted by current. In the final version, they'll be red for port and green for starboard, is my understanding. But at the moment, that's how we have it. This is a developing area of OpenCPN. So we'll move on from tack and lay to weather forecasts. Weather forecasts, customized local forecasts for you. You can get your forecasts through the software program. Click on the grid file plugin and go select things like how many days out you want to be, how many hours, how frequently you want the forecast for, every 3 hours or whatever, and also how fine you want the grid to be for the forecast you've asked for. You can also pick whether you want to have wave height, water temperature, etc., as part of your forecast. So once you've selected what you want, click on send, and in my case, my PC is using Outlook and it asks for permission, so you say yep, and it goes away and it sends that. That can be via satellite, that can be via cell phone, that can be via HF radio. However you're getting your forecast data is irrelevant, you just need to be able to receive a grid file. So, SailDocs is the one that this is using, and it takes about a minute or two for it to come back with a forecast. So once you have your grid file, go in there, open it again, pick the file that you just downloaded, and it comes up with the forecast. Now in this case, I'm zoomed in a bit too much to see anything sensible, so we'll zoom out a bit. Of course, if it's a predict wind one, you can get very, very fine detailed forecasts, but this example is not one. So we'll zoom out. Now you can see the wind barbs showing your wind speed and direction in the different locations. And it shows you where the arrow is now. When you point somewhere, it shows you what the wind speed and direction is at that location in that red box where it was just pointed. So you can look on the other side of an island forecast for the forecast and see, for example, wind speed direction if it's what you want for your trip. You can of course scroll forwards through the forecast by pushing the forwards button, and you'll see the arrows are moving to the time of the new section of the forecast. And you can see fronts going past. You can see all sorts of weather features depending on what you've selected for your grid file. So you can also play it as an animation. There it is as the animation. Same as on your TV watching the weather forecast go past. So pretty good, simple, basic forecasting. So moving on from basic forecasting, we'll go into weather routing. Open CPN will pick the best route using weather and polar information for your particular boat. So again, go in, pick the grid file that you want to use for the passage you're planning, and then you can open the routing software, and if we zoom in a bit, we'll find the Kermit-X, and we'll put a waypoint at Curtis Island. So there, select the weather waypoint. Now we can go and say that Curtis Island, Kermit-X, that's where we want to go to. And bring the routing software up so we can see the screen again. And we're going to configure, and in configure we say to it where from and where to. So we say to Curtis Island, it's going to go from the boat, in this case to Curtis Island. And we can also say things like, I don't want more than 40 knots of wind, and it'll try and route around anything. You can then go to generate, and it'll create that file. And we go, we'll just move this window up a little bit. No, not down, up, yep, like that, and go generate. And now if we move these windows out of the way and zoom out of it, you'll see it generating the, or selecting a route. And the coloured areas you can see here, what it's doing is it's selecting every possible course within those coloured parameters there that the vessel could take. And then it's working out whether that's a good thing or a bad thing as the forecast moves through, and trying to work out the easiest, shortest and fastest route, allowing for the parameters that we have in here, which is of course avoid land, which is always good, and in this case don't go in anything over 40 knots. The number of calculations that the computer is doing for this is quite mind-blowing. It is millions. And to duplicate this on a piece of paper is really just not possible. You've just got to take a guess. The computer is far faster at this than any weather person. So even though it's taking a moment to do this, we're going to wait for it to the end. In the background, you can see the forecast. That's the beginning of the forecast. So it hasn't scrolled the picture through as it does this, but we will be able to see that shortly when the route is finished. So almost there now. And there we are. Okay. So now what we do is, you can see I'm scrolling through the forecast, and you see the round dot on the magenta line. That is where you are when that particular forecast is current. So what it's done in this case is it's given us a route to the Kermit-X with the wind after the beam the whole way, and be a pretty good trip, I think. I think I should have done that instead of come to this presentation, but anyway, here we are. So now it's showing us an animation here. Click on that, you can animate it, same as you could with the weather chart before, and you can see both the route and the weather moving at the same time. So very good, simple route selection, especially good for offshore passages. So go back and here you go, export, close that window, and there's the route. Now I can right click on that and say go on the autopilot, and we're away. So that has been a basic introduction to weather routing. Now we're going to use the PC to show you Wi-Fi on a Mac and an Android. Here we have an iPad on the right and an Android on the left. So they're mirroring their screens back to this PC. Here you can see the data that's coming over the Wi-Fi. It's being broadcast by OpenCPN for your Wi-Fi. And we'll just open that up and we'll have a look at the NMEA data coming across the Wi-Fi. That's what the green stuff is scrolling past now, NMEA sentences. For anyone who's interested, it's coming over a UDP connection broadcast on the Wi-Fi. And we'll just go back to the main screen on the iPad. Right, these two devices are running completely separate applications than the PC is. The iPad is running iNavX and the Android is running OpenCPN for Android. Now, the standard app that comes on the iPad doesn't and won't receive data via UDP, so you do have to buy iNavX, unfortunately, and the charts for it, so it's not a free application. So now we're on the Android system, and I've just refreshed the screen because it's a low spec Android tablet, the Nexus 7. It's not very fast. So I refreshed that, and we're just going into the data connections on the Android side, the one on the left now. And in a moment, there we go, you will see the data from the UDP connection coming into the Android tablet. So NMEA sentences broadcast over Wi-Fi from OpenCPN on a PC in this case. Could be a Mac, of course. So we'll close that. And just to show you that these two are in fact separate applications, what I'll do here is I'll just zoom in on the Android and you'll see that the iPad doesn't change. So we're not doing remote control here. It is a navigation device in its own right. So we've zoomed in, centered. We'll just zoom in on that again in a moment because I still think it's too far away. And you'll notice that, there we go, and you'll notice that the iPad hasn't moved still. Yep, so two separate things. Don't confuse and think it's a remote control. And there we are zooming in on the iPad as well. So now we're going to go back to the PC. I'll just move the Android and move that iPad out of the way a bit. So you can see the PC screen in the background. The PC is what is transmitting this information to the Wi-Fi devices. So we'll just go into the PC setup and have a look at how it does that. So like everything in OpenCPN, click on the little spanner icon at the top and you get this page, and in this case we'll go into connections. And you'll see there a UDP line. Now the UDP line, of course, is, in this case, it's out, not in. It's broadcasting outwards so that the other devices can see the data. And there's the data that it's sending. And that's a basic introduction to Wi-Fi on OpenCPN. And I hope you found this little OpenCPN presentation helpful. Just to reiterate, it's a free chart plotting application. It runs on a PC, a Mac or Android. It does not run on an iPad. There's many free charts for it, including New Zealand. With a Wi-Fi adapter with a soft access point, it can multiplex to mobile devices. Sailing performance data, polars, tack and lay, radar, AIS, ribbon weather, and many more plugins are available to add to functionality. Open source, totally legitimate software. So if you're planning something for your boat, maybe this is it. Thanks for listening.